Right, and this is coming out that looks like grass. Probably from when we grounded.
What were you talking about, grass?
Yeah, there's grass in the heat exchanger. It's not good.
We're Chris and Sandra. In 2022, we bought a boat we named Thataway. On a foggy May morning, we said goodbye to Port Dover and headed down Lake Erie through the Welland Canal and on to Lake Ontario. We had a summer of fun boat projects and explored Lake Ontario and the famous Canadian Heritage Canal System, the Trent Severn Waterway. We met some great people and saw amazing sights in beautiful Ontario. We've got plans to overhaul the interior of Thataway in the spring, so join two not-so-young kids as we dive headfirst into our 2023 adventure.
I'm in the engine compartment today and just doing some basic maintenance before the boat goes back in the water. I want to replace the impeller for the motor. I opened it up and taken a look, and looks fine. Doesn't look like it'll be any problem to change. I ordered that part from American Diesel in the States, and expect to have it by the end of the week, but it may be early next week, in which case we'll already be in the water. So I'm going to close things back up. The other thing I took a look at was the zinc. The engine zinc, and the engine zinc's completely gone. So it's been completely sacrificed to electrolysis. There's nothing left in the zinc cap. I'll take a picture of that as well, take a shot of that, just so you can see what I'm talking about. And also I want to go through, make sure all the through hull valves are working well and seem to be in good shape, and that they're double clamped. And I may shorten a few hoses up as well. Then I'm going to put the plumbing back together that I took apart last year when I was winterizing. And finally, I want to change. So when I did all the electrical work last year, some of the fuses I put in were sufficient for wire size protection, which is what predominantly you're doing with your fuses. But I want to size them down even more, because there's no sense to having such large fuses in the main bus. So I'm going to replace some of my fuses if I get around to that today as well. So fair bit to do. Let's get started. This is a close-up of the zinc that I'm going to be replacing. It's connected through the sits in the heat exchanger. So normally there'd be a zinc pencil coming out of this cap. On this one, it's completely worn away. So I've ordered a replacement cap with the zinc pencil in it. And I'll install that as soon as I get it. For now, I'm just going to put this back together. This is the water impeller housing. The old impeller is sitting in here. There's a paper shim. There's a bit of paper there. There it comes. Right, that's the existing gasket. Turns out I have a spare, so I'm going to install that. So there's the end cap with the gasket installed. Hoping this yellow dot is up. Not going to do this up tremendously tightly. And usually what I do is I go around once, make everything loosely tight, and then I'll make a final tightening pass where I kind of tighten the bolts out of order. And I do this because that's typically the way you reseal bearings, so that you're not putting undue pressure along one side Sounds good anyway. I don't have a manual for this engine yet. I think that's one of the things I'm going to have to do. Not too concerned for this kind of work. It's pretty straightforward. Everything's snug. And I just dropped my wrench. Perfect. Towards the bow of the boat. This is my lithium battery box. Bilge is underneath it. On the left-hand side of the bilge is my deck wash pump. And this through-hole fitting here, which is only singly clamped right now, but it's closed, feeds the deck wash pump. So this line is longer than it needs to be, and I'm going to shorten it. Got this back. So when we put it back together, we're going to double clamp it, because you're supposed to clamp all your through-hole fittings, pardon me. So I'm just going to rerun this so it comes in underneath everything. Right, and then so down there. Oh man, what a mess. All right, that's a bit cleaner. Okay, so that hooks up to the deck wash pump. And we need another hose clamp on this end. Okay, so double clamped and open. You'll notice there's another one over here. This used to go to the generator. It's not properly set up, but I'm also not going to open it. So for the time being, I'm going to leave it as is. But it should really be double clamped as well. We're taking a look at the MPPT solar controller. And then to the left of that, that's the Servo GX. And last year, I never got the cable to run between the MPPT controller and the servo. So I bought it over the winter. I had a hard time tracking it down. It's a specialized cable. Not having it meant that the MPPT controller, the solar controller, operated all on its own. What that means is that it charged and stopped charging on its own profile instead of working in tandem with the Servo GX. So I'm gonna hook the two together, and monitoring it, I had to use a separate tool. So hopefully by hooking them together, things will just be better. This is the cable. It's actually a Victron Energy supplied cable. So obviously it's got some smarts in this little box. So I don't remember how it connects after all this time, but it can't be that hard. first fuse is to the inverter. I'm not changing that. That's 125. The other 3 fuses, like I said, they were acceptable, but I think they're a bit high. Well, they are a bit high. They're acceptable for the cable runs, but could be sized down, which is what we're going to do. System's completely disconnected right now. Battery's disconnected. It's a good time to work on it. All right, so I got these 60 amp fuses. Really hard to find. I got them at Mouser Electronics, ultimately. Guy from American Diesel suggested this. Putting a hose clamp on it and compressing it before you put it in. I have to say it worked. Don't tell me I didn't think that through very well, did I? She asked me if I was with Burkholder.
And you said?
I said, I'm Newton, but I am with Burkholder.
You said, every year for the last 35. Best 35 years. I like that you're with Burkholder all this time.
It came out. There it goes. Told the fins don't make a difference, that they'll sort themselves out. So I guess we'll see if that's true. Great. That brings us back to where we started. Seems like a good idea, but I don't think it's getting past the impeller. So Sandra, I'm done here. Except we're going to need to start the engine to reprime it.
Right. Chris has been doing a lot of engine maintenance lately, and he's been diligently filming it. You can see our rig that we have set up here that we do a lot of our filming with. We don't have fancy equipment. We just use our cell phones. We have Galaxy S21s, and we bought some fairly inexpensive equipment to help along. Anyway, he's going down into the engine room. He's down there now, actually, I think. You can see a little bit of him there. To install a new battery monitoring system. Battery management system. BMS. Because he tried to reconnect the original one when he was too tired and burnt it out. So he's laughing right now because, of course, I had to mention that, but we all make mistakes when we hurry things along when we're tired.
So I'm down looking at the lithium-ion batteries and the BMS, which is back here. And on launch day, which was about a week ago, I had, I should back up. I disconnected the battery system, the lithium batteries, over the winter. I drained them down to about 50%. And then I disconnected the battery management system. And I did that because I figured otherwise the battery management system is going to be on all winter until it drains the batteries. So, and the way I did it was by disconnecting, this is a 16 cell battery. And so I disconnected all 16 cells. This octopus of wiring on top of the BMS, the BMS has one wire going to each, essentially one wire to each cell in the battery, and it's monitoring the health of each cell. So I disconnected it, and when I went to reconnect it last week, I was in a bit of a hurry because it was launch day. And instead of reconnecting in order from cell 0 to cell 16, I started connecting it in reverse because it was easier in terms of the way the harness went on. But I guess there's a reason they say to connect it from 0 to 16, because very quickly, the BMS started spewing gray smoke and hasn't worked since. So I burned it out by reversing the wiring order. Lesson learned. So the new BMS came in the mail today. I'm going to pull the old BMS off, take it upstairs, and make sure that the two units look like they're the same. From what I can tell, they're identical units, which is good. And then I'm going to reconnect the BMS, but this time, it's what I should have done before. I'm going to reconnect the two wiring harnesses. I just have to figure out which one of these runs the low cells. The new BMS cost, I actually forget, it's $120, something like that, American. Hard to get in Canada. So probably think about carrying a spare on board. So I'm dealing with 48 volts. So this handy plastic sheet just allows me to work on the batteries without hurting myself. Spent a fair bit of time last night trying to get the serial connection between the battery monitoring the BMS and the Servo GX. And I was not successful. I thought I was close. And as far as I can tell, there's no issue on this side because I've got the Bluetooth module back in now that I've abandoned this. And I'm able to hook up Bluetooth no problem. And the Bluetooth module and this serial module use the same pins. So that's not the problem. And on the servo side, I'm able to, I know it's picking up the other USB cable that's plugged into it. So I don't think the problem's on the servo. I think the problem is with this little box here. And I'm going to have to do some more research. So I'm going to shelf this project for now and just hook things up like they were last season. It's not no issues other than the fact that the BMS is being overly protective. So hopefully we'll get it solved. I'm going to start by working on the Sterling. The Sterling is it's a battery-to-battery charger. So basically when the engine is running, this unit steals power off of the engine alternator and feeds it into the 48 volt system. So in other words, it charges the lithium ion battery. It's not a bad unit. It wouldn't be my first choice, and it's kind of a temporary solution until we start looking at hybrid propulsion. So I just disconnected it after I burned out the BMS. So I'm just going to reconnect it. Kind of a false wall on this cabinet. And if I take it off, oh, this is the beautiful back end to our electrical system. Believe it or not, I've been cleaning it up. It was really, really bad. Like I pulled a lot of wire out of here. Anyway, I need to undo what I did when the BMS burnt out, because I routed shore power directly onto the AC while we waited for the BMS. So I need to rewire that. And I'm going to clean things up a little bit as I go.
Hi guys, thanks for joining us this week. Chris has done a lot of engine repairs in his lifetime, so this stuff doesn't scare him. We're hoping to have more episodes about the engine and also about the battery system, which has been an ongoing project since last summer. But for next week, we're returning to the galley. We're excited to show you the progress that we've made there. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel, and if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And as always, if you leave comments and questions, we'll be sure to respond. See you next time.